Coming to you from Strings and Things Studio in Ventura, California, I'm Anne.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Karin.
And this is the Strings Unraveled Book Club.
Hey, everybody.
All right.
Howdy.
Welcome. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Last day of the school year today.
Nice.
I have to drive kids to school for a little while.
That's awesome.
So instead, my rage against Main Street being closed is going to burn because I don't have to take Main
do that
Street when I'm taking my son to school. But now I will have to do that again. Roar.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I can't imagine how much longer that's going to last, but
It's hard
I don't
to
know.
say because I hear a lot of different things.
Yeah, that's true.
I am surprised that this far out, it's still closed.
Yeah, well, because now we're in a phase of shaping what do we want the attractions of Ventura to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And it behooves the restaurants to continue to stay closed because they get extra seating.
Right.
But
But they're not the only businesses on that
Yeah.
street. And those other businesses are not getting parking.
no. The restaurant lobby has always been the driver of Main Street, though, in my opinion of my time living here.
That makes sense. There's a lot of restaurant down there.
Yeah. And really, it only benefits the restaurants.
Yeah, that's true.
But whatever.
Well,
It'll just be an irritant for the summer, and then I'll be back to not having to
not
deal
having
with it.
to, yeah.
Because I realize, I'm like, why am I raging about this still? It only bothers me during break time.
That makes sense.
The only time I have to deal with it. Oh, and when there's insane traffic.
Right.
Like the few times there have been crazy
well,
traffic
the
anomalies.
X Games is this weekend, which I just realized I'm taking the train to Santa Barbara on Saturday,
That's going to be fun.
which I didn't realize that was going to be right there. I didn't plan this trip, so
But you're going the opposite direction. Oh, but you
I still have to go down there.
Access to the...
I just
But I
realized
think
that.
they usually manage parking so that first lane of parking is open on the fairgrounds for train
trains.
travel. I think
It's good to know. We
if
just
you
have to
think
leave
about
early.
the fairgrounds, I think those spots
I'm pretty
are
sure they
usually
do
open.
set that aside. They have signs that say for Amtrak.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So I hope it goes smoothly. Where are you going? You're going to Santa Barbara?
Yeah, this
What are
is
you
like
doing?
our this is a Christmas gift from my mom and my aunt for like a girls' day. So we're taking the train to Santa Barbara and going wine tasting. I don't drink wine, but I'm there for the fun.
Yeah.
Eat brunch, take the train home later in the day, do some shopping. So should be fun.
That'll be lovely.
Yeah.
That sounds very fun. Much more fun than the X Games because that's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I just remember. I have to text my mom and be like, "Hey,
Those have been
everybody."
going on for so long. I remember when we were newlyweds and we went up to San Francisco and that they right there at the wharf, they were having the X Games.
Oh, that's
We didn't
funny.
even know. That's not why we went there.
Yeah. It's a
Yep,
thing.
It's a thing. I guess people still go to it.
Yeah.
What are you guys working on?
Well, I am working on my Adorable Gabriella, which is a very fun lace-shouldered, lace-sleeved, fingering weight top-down sweater.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it called Adorable Gabriella or
That's the
Adorable
name.
is the descriptive of this Gabriella?
That's the
Gotcha.
name.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're looking for the pattern, it's Adorable Gabriella.
Also adorable.
Right.
It is. It's well named.
started as a little girl's sweater, and then it got
People are like, I would love to see that in an
Extended
adult
sizes.
size.
yeah, it got sized up. It's a fun construction because the shoulders are both you make each shoulder first, and it's like starting two little shawls. And just when you start to get bored of a shawl, you join it and it becomes the yoke of the raglan.
That is fun.
And it's going pretty good. I'm in the near finish of the yoke. You know, those never-ending
Yep.
rounds of the yoke of a top-down sweater.
Yep. Those are always the most fun part of a whole sweater, right?
Oh, funnest. Yep.
But there's that, okay, how much? I'm that much closer to separating the sleeves.
Yes. Well, there's certainly a drive. The body will still be interesting because there's a panel of lace that goes down the side of the body too. So I'm pleased that there'll be a little bit of interest
It's
when
not
I get to the
just
body too.
stuck in it.
Yeah. So it's not like, oh, now I'm going to get to the boring part.
Right.
No, it's still going to be a little fun.
That's good. I like projects like that.
So, what are you doing, Karin?
So I started a sweater on Sunday, and I'm done with half of it.
Nice.
On size 9s.
That
And it
yarn
is also
gorgeous.
an inch. Okay, so this is a Yumiko Alexander pattern. And Alexander.
She has great patterns.
Let me look at the title page.
If it's the person I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Dando. Alexander is correct. Yumiko Alexander of Dando Knit and Crochet. Mm-hmm. And this is her yarn also.
Oh, neat.
So look how cute it
cool.
is. So you do these panels, and you'll do a panel, and you'll leave these double yarn overs in there with to make nice big holes. And every 8th row, you will attach. When you do the next panel, you'll attach it through the holes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
So let me show you the back.
This feels like a Lily Chin kind of concept.
Yeah.
So it's this way.
Okay.
So the back.
Yeah.
So it looks like a
little
cable,
thing.
Yeah.
but it goes so much faster because you're only doing half the stitches.
That's very
right.
fun.
And so you get these. So I'm not trying to carry it or work. It's
linen.
It's 100% linen,
Nice.
but it doesn't feel stiff like some
No, it
old school
has,
linen.
like, some drape to it without any abuse.
This particular color. Let me see if I can grab one of my multi labels. And it's just called linen. It is what it is. 100. It's 50-gram balls, and it only takes 7 of those. So that's really not that much yardage. At 124, it says soak 2 to 3 minutes or less for wet blocking, which is interesting.
Yeah, I know
Barely
with linen, if you soak it for too long, it can absorb a lot of water.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I saw that. I'm like, I probably should have blocked the swatch, but I didn't. Yeah, I got
It's like a oversized T-shirt kind of shape. So even if it's a little bit more oversized, it's not the end of the world, right?
Be hurting.
So this particular color is like a heathered teal with a couple of strands of like a minty-ish green. It's called Oasis. So it's got this two-tone
Very pretty.
feel to it. And I'm already starting the front.
Nice.
So that went quickly. Let me show you the contrast color. It has one panel that's a contrast. And I'm going for the good old oatmeal. Although it's called natural.
It's almost silvery. It's very
Ecru
pretty.
natural. Mm-hmm. That's what I liked about it. It's not a warm natural.
Yeah.
It's almost this cool
It's a very
silvery
cool color.
Mm-hmm. And so that's my earth tones. I'm like, yay, I'll have something to wear later this summer.
Nice.
That's very
That looks
exciting.
like a fun
When we're in
project.
hot and humidity. I'm thinking about, it is pretty open though because the lace holes are pretty big. So you are meant to wear some kind of a tank top. And I'm like, I got to make sure that whatever tank I wear is not polyester, that handles humidity well. So I'm like, well, I have yards and yards of double gauze that I will make some tank tops and then dye them because the double gauze is white.
Nice.
So I can leave it white, or I can just dip it in. I almost want to dip dye it so it's a little darker at one end.
That could be fun.
And that way it sort of catches, but it's not all one. But it's not tie-dyed looking like I normally do. Anyway, that's what's in my hands.
Cool.
What are you making, Katie? I see a signature color there.
Yeah, this is yarn from our stash swap that I snagged for myself. It is Madeline Tosh DK. Is that what it is?
Is that
Madeline
Edison then?
Tosh? No, it's called Hello.
Oh, hello.
And it's like a bright, true yellow. Like it's a yellow.
Yellow.
It's not golden. It's not. It's straight up yellow.
You're right. It's just the calm side of neon.
It's
bright,
not quite
but
a highlighter. It's not neon.
That's the other word. Highlight.
But it is.
It's the center of a daisy.
Yeah, it's a good color.
Yeah.
Very much my color. I am knitting. I'm copying one of our regulars who is making a sweater that I liked. It's called Sana or Sana, Sanna. By this designer's name is something. I don't know. But yeah, it's Xenia's making this in like a really pretty.
Is there a picture of the whole thing?
Yeah. She doesn't have a great picture on the pattern, but I could pull it up. It's like a lace cardigan, short sleeved. Hers is like a little bit cropped. This is the picture on Ravelry.
Oh, that's very cute.
Yeah, it's a super cute sweater, and she's got like a long sleeve version of it too. But I only have 900 yards of this yarn, And so I was trying to figure out, like, what can I do with it's kind of like an awkward amount of yarn.
Yep.
It wasn't enough for, like, a full sweater. It might not even be enough for this, but I'm kind of, like, living on the edge. I think my size calls for, like, 937 yards, and I have 900 yards.
I'm sure she had a buffer in
That's
there.
what I'm betting on. I'm like, I'm sure there's a buffer included in the pattern. So, yeah, that is what I am making. And so far,
really
I started
cute.
it today.
That's perfect in that color and
Yeah.
the pattern are a good match.
I'm a little concerned with button choice. Like, it has to be
Clear
either
Clear
the
button?
Yeah.
Hold on. I have it.
Okay.
Maybe. This is a suggestion. Coming to me right now.
Okay.
Take it to work with you at Super Fuzzy.
Yeah.
Walk around.
Yeah.
Make covered buttons.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, I'm sure I could find like a solid that matches
Fabulous.
this, or use
even
the yarn to make like a Dorset button.
Yep, I like that. Dorset button feels maybe a little too busy for this.
Yeah.
I think maybe even something that was a print, but a very soft print with one tiny pop of something.
Yeah, I'm not really a statement button kind of person.
Oh.
So I'm thinking, like, if I can't find the exact match, which I'm sure I'm not going to be able to because it's not it's a little bit of an unusual yellow,
Back to clear.
or like a plain wood button or something.
Ooh, white.
Yeah, or white
Like,
button. That was
white,
another
perfectly
idea.
White button.
Mhm. I like
be
yellow and white
very
together.
cute on this. Yeah.
So that is what I'm doing. I knit my gauge swatch on a 7, which is what the pattern called for, and it was like pretty right on, but lace you can really stretch when you're blocking it. So I went down to a 6 to conserve yardage.
Nice.
And I'm just crossing my fingers that it's gonna work.
And you're gonna block the stuff out
Yep,
of it.
exactly. But it's a really fun pattern. It's 2 different lace charts, and they're each like 8 stitch repeats. So
I like that.
it's
easily
easy to
memorizable.
keep on top of. And yeah, I just started it today. I got the ribbing, and it's all done from the bottom up in one piece. So this is the body
That's the whole
of it.
sweater.
Yeah, it's all squished up on my needles, but
Moving pretty impressively.
yeah, it's been very fun.
I like the rhythm that lace has.
Yeah.
Sometimes, even though there's more going on, that it has more rhythm than stockinette, which is just like
Yeah, that has no
it's-
rhythm. It's just going forever.
It's like stockinette is one note continually, and you get a little more music, I think, with a lace.
Yep. So that's what I'm working on. What did we read this month?
We read The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I'm a big fan of Leigh Bardugo.
Look at all those post-its. That's awesome.
If only they meant something.
Oh,
So I sat down to physically read this book because I like to have a physical copy.
And it's
when
a
my
beautiful book.
It is, and I got the trend of the special editions. This has a like matte black on
I love the
page
edging,
ends.
yeah.
So that's always fun.
I did pick up the book and look at it when I was at, I think, Target. I saw it on the shelf and I almost bought it, but I was like, I don't need a shelf trophy.
This is my first purchase from my new favorite bookstore, Smitten.
Yeah.
Because when we wandered in there on Dante's birthday, I was like, I don't even know what to pick. Oh, well, there's that book I've been looking forward to buying. So I will buy that now.
There you go.
And so I did divide it into a week's worth of reasonable goals of reading, and it is a good read. Like, it is a hard, for me, I thought it was a hard to put down read. And then we went on a trip, and it was my husband, myself, and my oldest. And my husband asked, have you read Project Hail Mary yet?
Mm-hmm.
And Alexander was like, yeah, no, I'll get to it. And this is a PSA that there's a movie coming next year.
Yeah.
Starring Ryan Gosling.
so
Yeah.
good.
But you don't want to read the book after you see this movie, because I believe you should go into this book knowing very little and just let it unfold for you.
Yeah. So
I
you hear the
refuse
author.
to tell you.
I feel like I want to hear the author's voice, not necessarily the director's.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it'd be first.
Yeah,
first.
exactly. It's
You just don't want any spoilers.
right. I think it's one of the
Yeah.
most artfully done books I've read in a very long time in the method of the storytelling.
That might even be the book that maybe really, really want more from that author.
Yeah. So I read the first 40 pages physically. And then we went on our weekend trip, and it was all listening to Project Hail Mary. So then early this week I picked up the audiobook of this, which was great, because I did not know how to say Walit.
How is it spelled? Because I just listened to it.
H-U, I'm sorry, is it H-U or H-A?
I was going to look up names.
U-A-L-I-T.
Okay.
So in my head, it was much like Hermione. It
Yeah.
was
Hewlett, yeah. There were names that I like meant to Google to be like, how do they spell that name?
Right.
But
today I learned how to spell the state in Mexico,
Oaxaca.
Oaxaca.
Oaxaca,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not how I thought it was spelled.
Not Wahacka. Oaxaca.
No. But now it makes sense.
Yeah.
It does make sense now that I've learned
I
it.
don't know. I can't think of a word in Spanish that has W in it. I'll think about that for later.
I'm sure there are.
I'm sure
Probably.
I'll be relate, and that'll be the thing that
it's
occupies
not
my mind.
It's not a not letter like
Yeah.
like the silent letters of H and J, which is actually I thought it would have started with an H or a J, but no, it does not. So what do you guys think of the book?
I have never read any Leigh Bardugo before. So when I was looking up reviews after I had finished it, just to like, sort of cement some ideas that I had, most of the reviews that were like 3 stars around there were like a little disappointed coming from Leigh Bardugo because they expected more. I have not read any Leigh Bardugo before, so I didn't have any expectations. I thought it was good. Yeah. It wasn't the best book I've ever read. It was interesting. It was set in a time period and in a place that I didn't, have a lot of experience. I never read a book set in, the Spanish Inquisition. Yeah. So it was interesting. It was good.
Karin has read a lot of Leigh Bardugo.
I have read a lot. I was not disappointed because I don't think that authors have to be a monolith. They can have little different styles. Yeah. They don't all have to. This wasn't a different style. I thought it was a different setting, and I think a lot of people are not used to this kind of setting.
I think the complaint came
from realism rather than just fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the complaint came that it was just a standalone book, and all of her others are like longer series and worlds. So
I thought it was a great nugget. I liked it for what it was.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I've never read it or any other Leigh Bardugo, so I don't have any strong opinions on that.
Leigh Bardugo is the author of The Shadow and Bone, also known as the Grisha verse, which has 2 trilogies and a duology, I think.
Yeah. There's like 5 in that. Yeah. 5 or more.
Well, Shadow and Bone, I think, is a
trilogy
part. And then there's the duology of the 6 of...
I'd love to help you out, but my brain's not working.
That's okay.
But I know what you mean. Yeah.
6 of Crows.
But sometimes...
And then there's the stories about just the prince, and I think that's a 3-part. But I don't know that I've read all of those.
This being a single book was actually really nice because sometimes there's just she packs so much in her universes.
Yes.
That sometimes I have to really go back slowly and go back because I miss stuff.
Yeah.
So it was nice to have something a little simpler. It was like a nice like the dessert after something,
right? Like a contained meal that would be a good
meal,
because I mean it's sort of she's told this story sort of before because it has hints of the hero Shadow and Bone.
That was one of the other things that I saw was like it's a young virginal girl who's a little bit plain and comes into her power and a mysterious immortal man. Like, we've read this book before, but I still like it.
Yeah.
I'm still down for it.
It was still different. Like, a good chef can make me the same meal, just slightly tweaked, and I'll probably enjoy it both times.
Yeah. Or even exactly the same. And I'm like, I know what to expect. I like it.
And setting something in a historical view, perspective of the Spanish Inquisition, I thought was really interesting.
I think I heard her talk about this, and this is like her own personal research into her family.
Yeah, I read that too.
That makes it even more interesting.
And like the Jews of Spain are a very interesting...
I did not even know there were Jews in Spain.
Hank Azaria is part of this heritage.
Oh, interesting.
He says his grandparents speak like a very interesting dialect of Yiddish, I believe. That's like more of a mix of Spanish and Yiddish.
That's very interesting.
I believe. I hope I'm not misquoting him. My favorite Leigh Bardugo is actually the Ninth House line. There's 2 books, and I there has to be more because she left us just dangling in the wind. So, but those are the best to me. Though they're set in Yale for this woman who has to monitor all the secret houses of Yale, not just Skull and Bones or whatever that one is, that there are 8 other houses, and the 9th house is the one that like babysits them all and watches over the magic that they're crafting.
Interesting.
And the greater forces at work around her and the person she was supposed to replace. I love those books. Like, I have reread them at least 2 or 3 times. So that's my favorite Leigh Bardugo. But I thought this was a fun book. I thought she did good. It was a fun, interesting. Actually, it's hard to say that it was fun.
Yeah, not really.
It was
fun.
interesting.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
And it kept my interest. Like, I would have, if
felt
I had
engaged.
picked this out for myself, I would have finished it regardless of the podcast, which is sort of my baseline of like, this was a good book.
That's a good review. So I enjoyed it. I'm glad it sounds like you guys did too.
Yeah.
I hope perhaps it intrigues you to listen more, to read more Leigh Bardugo, Katie. And if you haven't read Ninth House, you have that treat for you.
I have not.
Yeah.
I've got it in my Audibles.
Yeah.
But
I don't know why I like it so much more than Shadow and Bone, but I do.
is it as complex? There were so many complex characters, so many characters intertwined in so many characters you needed the history of to understand their connection.
That might be why I can connect with it a little better.
In the Grishaverse,
yeah, because the Grishaverse takes some not homework, but like
you got to pay a lot of attention,
right? And the Ninth House is based in, reality.
Like I didn't,
and then not.
I didn't care for the TV series
as
much because
I tried it. I'm like, what are you doing mixing these things up? What a mess.
It's the same thing like when they did the Jim Carrey version of Series of Unfortunate Events, and they mixed up all the books.
Yeah, that was dumb.
There's so many books where Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
what a waste. That was such a waste.
Those movies are horrible. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to this awesome book.
Yeah.
Wonderful book.
Wouldn't it make a great movie all by itself? Or a short series, limited series. Okay, so questions. I'm really excited. I just found these during my work day, and I'm like, cut and paste. Hope they're good.
Nice.
So they're good. Early on, Lucia compares her situation with her employers, wondering if she had the opportunity, if she'd prefer to sit on a cushion and embroider all day, like Valentina, or if it would be better to continue spending her life as a scullion. How much control do you think she has over her circumstances? What would your choice be?
Doesn't seem like women in this day and age have any control over their circumstances.
I think in the text she kind of self-answers.
Yeah. At the beginning of the book, especially, she's got no options at all. I don't think, besides like, I don't know, running away.
She sleeps on the dirt floor in the pantry.
I mean, she even talks about running away. She's like, I could go to my aunt's house. I don't think my aunt would take me in. I might just live on the street. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the options that she had available to her, it seemed.
And yet she can see that the life available to a well-married woman is the same. Yeah. Kind of, or like a different but same limiting situation. Like the thing that sticks in my head is that she was ruminating on the gossip that she had heard women had died falling out of their windows trying to get a better view of something new. Like, to be so desperate to see something new.
Because they literally were not allowed out of the house.
Without an escort.
Without an escort.
Yeah. So maybe our consensus is that none of the women have control over their lives.
Yeah. Well, some of them do.
Well, the playwright and then Waleed in her own way. But not really.
This is something I'm sure we'll touch on later, but a lot of the book is about women finding a way to take control of their lives, right? Mm-hmm. And it happens in a lot of, like, each one of the women featured in the story get a chance, I think, to sort of make their own path a little bit.
Yeah.
So whether or not it's successple or not,
fair.
I think it highlights different ways that was going to be possible.
Yeah. What would your choice be? I suppose between sitting on the cushion and embroidering or being the kitchen scullion.
I mean, I'd like to sit and embroider all day, I suppose.
Right. Sitting and knitting.
I don't want to sleep on the dirty floor in the
I
pantry.
spent most of today sitting and knitting, so that's kind of the same thing. Yeah. No, it was the first day in weeks I could do that, but And I like the cooking too. But keep in mind the kitchen there would not be as pleasant as...
No, that's not fun cooking.
No.
You want
so
to
maybe
pluck chickens and make soup all day.
No
the
air
beans
conditioning.
need to be stirred.
Yes.
Valentina presents Lucia to her guests, expecting her to perform her milagritos for them. She's reluctant at first, but then complies. Do you think she had any other option here? How do you think her life would have been different if she'd refused?
Yeah, I don't know. Because at that point, only her... what was her name? Valentina knew that she had these powers. So I think if she got to the dinner party and did not want to perform and just pretended like she was dumb and didn't know what she was talking about, I don't think that the repercussions would have been that bad, because I think that would have shifted the blame onto Valentina to be like, well, you're dumb. Like, I don't, like, because he says, like, you're crazy. What are you doing? Our guests aren't here to see this. Like, she probably would have lashed out to Luisa, but...
Yeah, I think
and Valentina was already kind of abusive to her already.
Yeah. Right, so I think she'd just be in the same boat.
Yeah. It might have been a little harder for her for a time, but...
Yeah.
But internally, could she have refused? Because there's that little part of her that took over. Right. That took joy in this.
Yeah, but that was after she had already started it, so I think that she probably could have.
But she could have been doing it. She could have been doing it a little bit, fixing up a hole, fixing a button.
But on the day of the demonstration, you're right. She, like, couldn't withhold her ego.
Yeah.
How do you think her life would have been different if she refused? I think it wouldn't be different. I think she'd be a little more broken, too.
Probably.
Yeah. Because letting that, like, that crack, that's how the light gets in, right? Mm-hmm. So that gets out, right?
Power, yeah.
To open up and grow.
Yeah, that's true.
I think she would have been less.
Would have slipped away.
Yeah. Lucia's aunt tells her that some people brought misery with them like weather. What do you suppose she means? Do you think that's true? Are there people in the novel that seem to bear this out? Well, Valentina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's her own bummer.
Yeah.
Victor is a storm. Victor de Paredes, who's the kind of...
The patron.
Yeah, the greedy force pushing
He's everything
forward. Yeah. Your line is, Jeannie, I wish you to be free.
Yeah, that was very much. I'll free you, I promise. Maybe next time. Maybe next year. Oh, maybe my son can.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, right. We ain't going nowhere.
What do you suppose this mean? Well, they bring their, like, what do you suppose she means? They bring their, they change the tone of the space when they bring what they have to you.
There are some people whose nature is more negative. They bring negative energy. And because people react to that negative energy, but they don't see how they're affecting people, it just reinforces that negative energy. It feeds it.
Yeah.
It almost looks like, well, see, I told you everything was awful. Well, yeah, because you're down.
No one likes me.
Yeah, because you're a downer. But, I kind of felt, I didn't like Valentina, but I also felt for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she's in a very difficult situation where she kind of feels powerless. And amongst their friends, they're not doing well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. No one special.
Like, you can't invite people over for social credit.
You kind of, like, can't blame her for how she feels, but also, like, you can, you know? You're like, I probably would feel the same way if I were in her shoes, but I don't know.
I think there's also a flip side of, like Deodonia, the young man who turns out to be a monster, that he brings...
The innocent farmer boy?
Right. He brings like levity and lightness. Like, that's how he manipulates the people around him.
Yeah.
He changes the tone of the room in a different way.
Yeah. He was an interesting character.
Santangel. Or Santangel.
Santangel.
Yes. Santangel.
You did it better.
Santangel.
Yes, because
I finished listening to the book about half an hour ago, so it's very fresh.
I was sitting here and I had my last 5 minutes on 3.3 speed, which is not how I had to listen to the whole book. It was just this afternoon. Tells Luzia it's a mistake to seek invisibility, that it's a danger to become nothing. What does he mean in your opinion? Did your interpretation of this change as you learn more of the story? Do you think he is correct? What do you think he means? Well, to disappear into nothing, to practice the being unseen. Except that's funny though. They both practice being unseen.
Yeah.
They both have that talent.
Yeah.
I mean, she is, because she's the help, and people intentionally look away so as not to see them.
They're going to underestimate her.
Yeah.
That's well, I think it means two different things for each of their experiences in the world. Like, she could come to nothing, right? She could never realize, she could never bloom, she could maybe never realize her talent and power. But for him, his ability to hide is like that scorpion that they find. Right. That he's a lurking danger to be used at any given time.
But it might also, because he has been in and out of invisibility for so long, that it's worn on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his
it's like
that's how he has to survive, right? And also how he can use his own like influence and power. Cuz I was thinking like of like Twilight, where they're like, we got to move every once in a while because these children don't age.
Right.
Like, do people, he's not seen, so people don't notice that he's been alive for hundreds of years.
And yet people do notice. I think there must be this transitional period.
Maybe.
Where, like, people who knew father and son know that, wait a minute, what's he still doing around?
And I know he, like...
Until those people pass off, and then...
Or nobody's listening to him.
Or they lock him in a box for,
could be that
I don't know how many years, and he comes out and,
that thought occurred to me too, though.
Yeah.
Like, how is he... Because he does say, I'm not just feared through Madrid, I'm feared through all of Spain.
Right.
But then you find out he can't go far, so there must be a story of him.
But he has to travel wherever the master is.
Oh, that's true.
Because if the master's traveled, he cannot not go with him.
But he's been alive a long time, so he's probably seen a lot of Spain.
Yeah. He's a boogeyman.
Yeah.
In the, like, culture of Spain now.
He's a cryptid. They've heard tell of him.
Yes. Oh, I felt so bad for him when you find out that in his story that his best friend was like, I see this opportunity to sell your soul so I can take your luck.
It was his best friend, but it was also a servant. It was not a person of the same class.
It was in parody. There was no parody there.
So it might have been a best friend in his view, but I don't. Clearly, the relationship didn't feel
bad.
Right? No, but I think that he did. I mean, there was an admonition. So the trick was that Santangel gave up the thing he valued least, and the servant would give up the thing he valued most. So his servant's relationship and trust was the thing he valued most, and he lost.
Right.
And the luck was the thing that Santangel did not value. So, like, he knowingly gave up his greatest relationship to gain and to now be above. It's like the shift that greed granted him.
Yeah.
Probably worth it, I guess.
Initially, until years go by and the energy... I'm sure that it sounded like the thrill. Like, I was thrilling at first, and then it got old. But now you're stuck with it.
It only got old for Santangel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't get old for
that it was a problem.
The family.
The family's like, nice.
Yeah, we get a free servant for the rest of our lives that can't leave and has to do what we want. Yep. And also we're lucky forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does your interpretation of this change as you learn more of his story? Not really. Do you think he's correct? Yes.
Yeah.
Or whatever, to whatever end.
Yeah.
Lucia knows that she might not survive the test, but she looks forward to having her mind challenged and her wits sharpened. Let it be my ambition and not my fear that seals my fate, she tells Santanhel. Why do you think she's not afraid? Well, I mean, she has nowhere to go but up.
What's going to happen to her?
Things have just been getting better for her, even if it's a short life.
When your life is as sucky as it could be, anything is a bone.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are paying attention to you. You get to sleep in a real bed at night. Yep. You get to wear not a filthy dress every day. You get to go fun places and, you know.
Not having to sleep on the dirt floor.
Right.
You know, we weren't shooting that high. But but a bed?
Yep.
Woo!
Yeah.
And, you know, she may not be... How did they describe her looks?
It was in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
I think her aunt is so very beautiful.
Yeah.
And she's pretty in the way that country girls are pretty, is the way that the other
girls from my town look like you. Yeah.
Reminded me of something Kevin said one time of like, oh, I can't believe you think blah blah is pretty. Like, she's so average looking or something. Like, I said something mean. And he's like, well, aren't you glad I like that?
That's so mean.
But I mean, aren't I glad he likes that? I was thinking at first like a Bella Ramsey. If they were willing to portray this character.
Okay, I could see that.
But then when we start to see her through Santanhel's eyes, something like because it's like, well, no, Bella Ramsey does not have desert hair.
No.
So then I know I can't think of who it would be.
Yeah, I gave this thought experiment about 30 seconds before. I was like, I can't think of anybody.
I'm like, this is someone new that we haven't seen if it were ever.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, everybody in movies and TV is beautiful. Even if they're the ugly one on the show, they're still a beautiful person, right? So she's not going to be portrayed, I think, if this were a movie, accurately. But I think that she's a relatively plain and simple looking person, like easy to underestimate and not much to look at as far as like a true beauty. Even when she like gets cleaned up and presented, you know, in a more like fashionable way, she's still not like a true beauty. They're like, she looks fine. You know,
all in the packaging.
I guess you
too, though.
Yeah.
But so very much the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
That he has seen her true beauty.
Right.
What role did religion play in the lives of Lucia, Walit, and Valentina? How is religion different from belief for them? Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, that is a good question.
Well, they're all outwardly Catholics.
Yep.
Trying to behave.
You gotta be.
Yeah.
It's kind of part of their social fabric. You couldn't be not religious, unreligious of any kind. Well, you couldn't be Jewish, clearly, in that part, but you couldn't be not Catholic either, and have any, or socially, that could put you in jeopardy. Someone would say they haven't been to mass, you know what's going on there, and maybe they'd out you.
Call up the Inquisitors.
Yeah,
you don't have any options for that.
I think this is the same time frame as Shogun. Like, have you guys? Okay, no, all right. Anyway,
okay,
take this to Shogun, because I mean, I won't be spoiling anything. It's an Englishman who's come to after the Portuguese who got their foothold in Japan. That's like the history of the time. That
Did they do a remake of that one? Or is it Richard Chamberlain still?
No.
Okay.
So
sorry,
side note,
I just dated myself.
No, it's okay. I remember that being a miniseries. I wasn't allowed to watch it, but and I remember my mom reading Shogun when James Clavell's novel was all the rage.
Gracie at the time,
right? They have done a remake of Shogun. It's on Hulu.
It was supposed to be pretty good.
It is very good.
Okay. James watched it.
I was assigned to watch it, and I was the only one in our like set of 3 couples, other than the assigning couple, who actually finished watching it.
Okay.
It was very, very good. But it is very vivid in the like violence. It's actually not very vivid in the sexuality, but it's very vivid in the violence.
Which might be historically accurate.
Well, and so that was the point of this, is that they used Japanese actors. Mm-hmm. All the Japanese.
How nice for a change.
It's a subtitled show. You got to be reading, like, have your plain stockinette or something else going on. But same time frame, and there's a lot of like religious conflict. Okay. Protestant versus Catholic and he kept saying, like, this is not my God, you know, you Catholics, not my God. Anyway, really good.
I didn't really know anything about Jewish people living in Spain at the time.
Yeah,
that was,
I only had like grains of knowledge about it, so this was a very illustrative of like how terrifying it must have been.
I know that from having studied history, that besides Catholicism, that the Muslim faith or Islam was, because when they talk about the Moors are people of Islam who came up from Africa through Morocco up into
and they held Spain for a while, and then they didn't. So through all the violence and rage that has fueled Spain, I really kind of enjoyed the portrayal of the savage beast that Spain at this time is. Like, it's running around the world, pillaging.
They're the true
everywhere.
They're the superpower of the world at the time. That's interesting.
And it really is one of the most bloodthirsty forces out of Europe. And could, much like I like to blame the English for a lot of our globe's problems, the Spain of this time is very much right there with them, if not ahead of them.
Definitely. What was the second half of that question?
How is religion different from belief? So I think Wally is a like devout Jewess.
Right.
Like, she wants to be able to practice her faith. She wants to live in a community that supports her faith and is public about it.
She doesn't have to be in fear.
That's her dream. Valentina, I think she just wants. I don't see her as a person of faith.
No, she seemed like par for the course of like a person who's going to church and doing their duties and confessing, and
it's not even important to her because she keeps Lucia from going to church, even though that's a ruse.
She's like,
for
okay,
Lucia.
fine, you can go to church this week.
Lucia, as far as belief, she feels very secular to me, even though she's clearly like trying to hold on to the threads of that gift of inheritance from
it's
her
her
mother.
Connection to her heritage, but it doesn't seem like it's something that's of utmost importance to her like it is to her aunt.
No, because to her aunt likes the songs for the song's sake, but to Lucia, the songs were mixed with Spanish and
Greek
and something
Arabic.
And, it
Latin.
was a mixture of various languages. And so for Valentina, I think for her, having a show of faith is part of surviving in that society, you know. And where for Lucia, it's like, what has God done for me? Really, I mean, she doesn't have the belief that her aunt has, but she grew up kind of on her own.
I think that,
and the only family she had after her mom, I forgot what happened to her mom, but I know something bad happened to her.
She just died.
She died a pauper. She just died a pauper. After her mom died, and her father, that's right, and her father kind of went crazy. That she's so busy trying to survive just hand to mouth that the luxury of faith is like secondary.
I think that Luisa and Valentina are sort of parallels to each other in that they both want for more just as much as each other. So like, she wants for her basic necessities and not to sleep on the floor and, you know, not to get smacked when she does something wrong and, you know, to be able to honor her parents and, you know, pay for a proper funeral for her mother and all these things, which are so important to her. And those are pretty important things. But Valentina wants just as much and feels like she is due just as much. She wants a better house. She wants more servants. She wants better clothes. She wants more dresses. She wants more luxury. She wants attention from her husband. So I think in Valentina's mind, she's struggling just as much as Luisa is.
Absolutely.
girl, it is not the same.
Right?
They both have this deep driven hunger.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, I mean, that's a universal human experience. The people who have want more, and the people who have not also want more, right? Yes. But in their minds, it's the struggle is just as real.
Yep.
Even though it's like, well, I mean, look at you. You already have a house, and you have, you know, a 3-car garage, and you've got everything that, like, I would die to be in your position. You know what I mean?
Were you surprised by who ended up befriending Lizia and who ended up betraying her?
A little bit.
A little bit, but I suspected Farmer Boy was not being truthful. I'm like, he just was a little... I always suspect someone who comes off too charming.
You'll
I'm
be
like,
great.
Yeah, like, no one's really that charming. They want something.
Harry Styles should be the Farmer Boy.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's like, oh my god, he's so cute. I was surprised by...
But I'm sure he's nice.
Yeah, totally.
It's called acting.
I was surprised by the Holy Child. I can't remember her name.
Teoda.
I was surprised by her twist.
Yes.
I was a little surprised, but in the beginning when they first introduced those characters, I'm like, one of these is not what they claim to be.
Neither of them were.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither one, but...
I mean, all three of them were.
Okay, but her twist was more because of her not being
she
holy
was
or a child.
Yeah, she was 38 years old. It gave me like Orphan vibes, that movie with they adopt the like Russian child.
Oh, I was thinking of the girl who played Screaming Myrtle in the Harry Potter
Moaning
movies.
Myrtle. Yeah,
Moaning
she's
Myrtle,
like 40 years old.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a good twist. But I'd say Teoda in the earlier question of like having the ability to make a choice for her life.
Yeah.
She is going to meet doom, but she is doing it on her own terms.
Right.
Yeah.
Like she's like, they're not torturing me because I am confessing to everything. Yeah. I'm not scared because I have my God. Like, no problem. And it's all on her own terms.
And there's someone who has a faith to the death.
Yeah.
And the twist of her father actually being her brother the whole time. It's like, oh yeah, I guess if you pretend to be a child, your brother could look like your dad, you know? That was interesting. Yeah, and then
all in the inflection of the voice. I love when she changed her voice.
Yeah, she's like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. What? Well, if you talk in that soft baby voice.
Yeah. I never trust women who talk like that.
It's a weapon.
Yep.
It's a weapon, and it's also a resource because like, it gets to this day. We live in the 21st century. Women still talk in a baby voice in order to gain favor with men.
Yeah,
and that's
actually like I do find myself doing it, which is probably why because it's not a baby voice, but how can I help you? Okay, are you okay now?
Yeah.
See, all of a sudden, I feel heard, and I feel your empathy for me. I can't.
I'm so sorry you're facing this right now. I mean, it is sincere when I do it, but
sure.
But it is a perfect a choice of affectation.
Yes.
I'm not gonna go around like this though.
Yeah,
okay?
but some people do.
So weird.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna
do you guys have different voices for different situations that you are conscious of?
Oh, I 100% have a customer service voice. Everybody does.
Okay.
I also have a stop talking to me voice.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Apparently, I have an Instagram reel voice.
Oh yeah.
my kids are like, why are you talking like that? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm just saying.
It's probably close to your newscaster voice would be.
I guess I have a newscaster voice.
Yeah, everybody changes their inflection depending on, your situation or how you wish to be perceived.
Yes.
Mostly, I speak slower so that I don't stumble over my words because otherwise I'll end up having to edit it out
again and again, right?
Yeah,
so much. The one that was unsurprising, of course, is Sansan and Hell. Like, I've fallen for you, and I can't possibly, make you replace me. Which I don't even totally understand how. If it had gotten to that point, how would she have supplanted him and served the same purpose for him?
What do you mean? In what?
Like, so if I understand right, the plan was going in before he fell in love with her is Luzia was going to take his place as his source of magic.
Right. He's like, if you can get me her, you can be free.
Right.
Right.
And so how would that have even worked?
That was never going to be.
Okay, so he was never going to wish Jeannie free.
Never going to be. But he believed it so much because he wanted it so badly.
But I mean, in his mind, she could create ships like and armies and replace from out of nowhere, and like even if he doesn't have an eternal servant of luck forever, he's got another powerful magic person that it's like, okay, fine. Like maybe he did care for him a little bit. That was, I mean, I'm assuming that if he were telling the truth,
a lot of benefit of
right? If he were telling the truth, then he could be like, yeah, it's kind of screwed up that you've been with my family for so long. You could be free, but I still need somebody on my side that's going to give me more than I am due. That's not true. I think he was lying the whole time.
And he just wanted both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because and then at the end he ends up with two. Well, he wants two of them. Yeah. He wants all of them.
Yeah. I want it all.
Yeah.
So I kind of got lost a little bit in the hierarchy of powerful men. You have the king who's up there. He's kind of weak, sickly, not great, but
still king.
But still king and still has power.
Ordained by God.
Then you have De Paredes, right?
Then you have
Perez.
De Perez.
No,
just Perez.
It's Perez, yeah.
So Perez, who was with the king, got ousted by somebody else, but then
trying to gain favor with him again.
But who was the aunt with?
De Paredes.
Victor, De Paredes.
Okay, so Perez, De Paredes.
Yes.
The two names.
That was giving you a headache.
Was like, wait a minute, who's with who? What?
Yeah, it took me a second to like determine who was which person, but
so I was thinking Perez with a capital P. Mm-hmm. You know, he's not in the middle of the picture. He's kind of like the boss. You know, the boss's boss. You know, and I feel like De Paredes, whatever. I'm not saying their name right, but whatever.
Right, yeah.
Oh. Is sort of the hopeful, you know, wants to align his stars so he can get rich with this guy.
He already is rich.
Yeah, he's a well-off
want
man
more.
in a powerful family.
He always wants more.
Well, he got a dukedom out of this.
Yes, yeah, that's true. He became a duke.
So he did want more
because there was a whole lot of.
If
this works, I'm gonna like not stand next to you in case this goes south really bad.
Away.
But if you're successful, I'll be right behind you, clapping your back.
Yeah.
And also taking my share.
Lucia thinks that Santanhel had been using her, but that he also cared about her. Both things can be true and still mean nothing, she thinks. Do you agree with her? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Because she ended up in the Inquisition cell.
Yeah. And everything I think that people told her about him was true.
Yes.
That, like, you can't trust that man.
Yes.
He has done this, this, and this. He, you know, for whatever, he's a dangerous person. Or he has done this before with other people, like the girl who had the dreams and stuff. And all of that could be completely true. And they could also be in love at the same time. Like, yes. That's a dichotomy that could exist.
He could want to be a better person, but still currently not be a good person.
I mean, he only has so much say over his own life,
right? Which
is not much.
And that's, I mean, these dichotomies exist in a lot of people's relationships. I think. I mean, I hope not. I hope for it not. But there are plenty of people who go through their lives in relationships like this.
Yeah.
Santanhel thinks that his life has been both long and remarkably boring. What are your thoughts about immortality? Would you want to live forever?
No, hell no.
Nope.
No.
No. Nope.
No. I would like to, you know, the idea of living longer.
Yeah.
Could
and
be exciting
well
if you have like the means and ability to travel and see more things.
Yes.
But then you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go now.
Yeah, because at some point you're going to have walked through so much in your life that the pain is going to outweigh the good.
100%.
Yeah.
Or you won't be a healthy person to share it with anymore.
And there's always that twist that living longevity in living doesn't necessarily equate to quality of living.
Right. And that's true even in this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That his quality does not renew for him until he connects with Lucia.
Yeah.
What a sad and sickly life.
Yes.
Till then.
Yeah, it would be boring. Even if you got to go places and see things, like you're still bound to one person that you have to stay near all the time. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to die. Like, that sucks.
Yeah. And you're only seeing those places because the other person wished it.
Yeah.
Wished
and it's not
for
like
themselves to go.
Like,
you're just hanging on.
Hey, can we go to Paris and see what's going on there? No. Like, I'm in charge here.
Right.
You don't get any say in this.
In his immortality, it's wretched.
Yeah.
Immortality overall is not interesting to me.
No.
Because every phase of life as we move through it, like, reveals something new.
Yeah, it has its own values and whatever, you learn different things from it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you could go forever learning something, or do you think there's a finite amount that you would learn?
Well, I think humans are pretty basic creatures at some point.
Yeah.
So, like, once you've seen the world and then gone around another time,
then it's just repeating. And you might get something the second time around, but
everywhere
not the 10th or 100th time.
Right. Everywhere you go, there you are. I think that's a very important euphemism.
Unless you find yourself the love of your life and you travel the world 1,000 times over and you're happy forever, which I'm like, okay. Yeah. I don't know about that, but all right, girl. I'm happy for you, I guess.
I do think there's something special about traveling with the one you love the most, because it becomes you become your own little world unit.
Yes.
And especially when you go places where you don't speak the like most common language, you have to connect to each other so much more.
Each other's support even more.
I really enjoyed that in my small, experience with that. Lucia acknowledges that Santanhel is a liar and a killer, that he was not a good man, but then goes on to think it was possible she didn't want a good man. She likes the bad boys.
I think there's something to that.
Do you think Santanhel was a good man? Do you think she loves him because he's good in some respects or in spite of it? I don't think he was good or bad. He just
he was just a person.
Yeah.
That was one of my asterisks for this book was good. Not a lot of character development.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you a whole lot about him or her other than she has magic powers, he lives forever, and they love each other.
He's an experienced lover, too. That's not good.
That's true. Other than that, not a whole lot going on. So I'm I couldn't really judge. He did bad things, right? Yes. He did good things, I'm assuming.
Yes.
But I would agree, he's probably a bad man.
Yeah. As far as character development, I thought Valentina had the most...
That's
the biggest arch.
Yeah.
We can talk about that if you have other questions.
I don't know if there's one specifically about that, but I think that's a good point. I liked her
because she went.
That would be a surprise.
There was
she went on to support
something
Lucia.
in her clicked or started to change when she saw Lucia do her thing, and also saw how Lucia. It's almost like she saw how other people were. She never saw. Well, she eventually saw how she had treated Lucia.
I don't think she had come...
But she didn't come to that right away.
I don't think she had come face to face with the consequences of her actions before because, she didn't have any opportunity to do anything that would affect another person.
Yeah.
So when she kind of screws Lucia over and gets her involved in all this, and then she feels like she's responsible for putting her here, it's I feel like it's one of the first times she's had to reckon with the fact that my actions have repercussions, right?
What does that sound
She never
like?
had a child. She always wanted a child, and here's someone to care for, not a child, but for the first time, and someone who sees her even in a way that, and actually, because of this, her husband actually starts noticing her. He's taken out of his zone. Does he get character development? No.
I don't think I don't think it draws him out of his shell. No. I think there's something mystical happening at the Castilla or whatever, and everybody's having a great time while they're there.
Like the one night.
But then as soon as they're done and they leave, I think it just goes back to normal.
Yeah.
Except for Valentina.
The bloom was off the orchard.
Yeah.
That's sad. He can only love his wife when magic is involved.
Well, and that's his shortcoming. But she continues.
But
to
she got a taste. But she got a taste of something good that she didn't even realize how badly she wanted, and realized that she did not want to go back to the way things were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I Valentina was an interesting arc.
Yeah.
When Valentina sees King Philip, she's surprised that he's just a man. She had believed that to be gazed upon by him would change her, give her value. Do you think this is why people seek out celebrities? Are there other reasons that might encourage someone to court the rich, powerful, or famous? Have you ever met someone famous? If so, did it change you in any way? Did they meet your expectations?
I don't know that when you meet like a celebrity, like, or you in passing, like we went to Dancing with the Stars, and of course Derek Hoff came out into the waiting area where we were before we went out, and it was nice to the crowd. Did I actually have any interaction with him other than a wave and no. You don't.
Did it change you though, Karin?
No.
I mean, in
my feet hurt that
Valentina's eyes, right? Like, he is the end all be all, the most important thing in her world.
Most powerful.
He's the most powerful man in Spain, and everything that's happening in Spain is like, she's so ingrained into the experience of her country and culture that like that would be the best thing that's ever happened, is if you got to meet the king. But in her mind, it's built up, but then you're right. It's like, he's just a guy. Yeah. And he's probably an ugly inbred guy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, he's got the whatever, Habsburg gene or whatever in him. Like, that he was not a good looking dude.
Not a.
They kept talking about how infirm he was all the time.
Yeah,
I do not want to know all the things that he had to deal with.
So dissecting this slowly, do you think that's why people seek out celebrities? Because to be gazed upon will give you value.
Yeah.
Yes. To be close to greatness, everybody feels like it might rub off on them, give them some self-importance.
Think about all those interviews they had with girls who'd waited for hours to see the Beatles, and they're just literally crying because he didn't look my way.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, they're just crushed.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Yeah.
He's just a person. He's just got a job. But some people
I think we've all had some meetings with television personalities, great and small, who like completely turned us off of them. Yes. I'm going to name names. Yeah. Like, Karin was at Ellen's show, and she was awful. Kaity and I have both been snubbed by Vicky Howell.
Yeah.
So I feel bad vibes. I feel bad. You know, I now have the dislike because she dissed my friends. So
yeah. I have met a few different famous people in passing, and being a resident of Southern California my whole life.
You kind of just see people sometimes. Yeah.
But no, it doesn't change me at all. It makes me, like, the experience I just mentioned about the hosts that we've both all encountered, it makes me remember that authenticity is really important.
Yes.
Like, I appreciate that those people might have to reserve their authentic selves to protect themselves, and yet why is any other person worthy of me to shine on them or not shine on them, you know?
Because they're handsome and they can kind of act, maybe,
or I'll shine for you because you'll do something for me, or there's value to me. So I suppose that having those interactions or hearing about those interactions, that has changed me.
Yeah. I have a family member who for their job meets a lot of famous people. Mm-hmm. And so I'm always asking them, like, is this person nice? Is this person nice? And they're like, oh, I'm going to see George Clooney this week or whatever. I'm like, is George Clooney nice? Like, I got to know. I want to know who's nice and who's not nice. Yeah. 90% of the time, they're like, it's fine. But every once in a while, they can name a person that was like, maybe it was the second time that they had worked with them and they remembered their name. And it was like, wow, that's a really, like, they meet a million people.
Think about all the people they meet. Yeah.
Right. Like, that's and that would probably change you a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Ellen, like, it's well known that she's awful. So I know someone who worked for her in her production team on her show, and he got like billions of stories about how mean she was.
Yeah. But I was a fan in her audience.
Everybody was.
We took the time to drive down there and spend our entire day there.
Yeah.
And she couldn't, because on TV, she's all about the TV audience. Yeah. She doesn't give two shites about whoever is sitting in the chair.
I don't think she gives two shites about most people.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
This is not an Ellen bashing. She did a lot of great things for Breaking Glass.
I will say the celebrity crush I had last year is very disillusioned.
Oh, who? What? Tell us more.
You know,
Celebrity crush.
our guy.
Oh, Pedro.
Why are you disillusioned with Pedro?
I mean, maybe we don't want to know.
No, I mean, I don't have any crush on him, but
I mean, not that he's a bad person or anything like that. More that he's like, he sparkles less.
Like how? Why is he sparkling less for you?
He made a statement about how helpless he was, that he didn't know how to cook or even do his own laundry or anything, that he never did. And I realized that is because he came from a rich family. He went to rich schools. He only ever got into rich acting jobs. He has only ever been at this regular. He's not been a regular person.
I mean, I don't trust any celebrity to be authentic to how they portray themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to be disillusioned with every celebrity in the past few years. But, like, if that is true, and if he is the person he presents as, then, like, isn't it great that with that background, he still seems like a relatively authentic person?
I think he's an authentic person. I think
he's just middle income.
No, listen. No, his family were rich people back in...
Yeah, and then they had to come to the U.S. with, like, nothing.
No, his dad was a very famous doctor, had to practice, you know, they were never poor. But I think
it's more that he's just a prince.
He didn't do so much as I had too much glitter in my eyes, and it had to wash off.
Okay, got it. He's always struck me as, because, like, I have this level with my own little brother, who's a very handsome, very charming man, who has talent coming out of everything, but he's not yet successful. And that's kind of Pedro Pascal to me, is that he's a long-suffering artist who has finally, like, has his moment in the sun and in the spotlight. But he's just been a regular guy all this time.
Yeah, he's just a dude.
Still very highly talented, though.
Oh, yeah. Yes. No shade on his talent from what you're saying.
And no less attractive.
I actually think he's just a very average looking guy.
He has a smile.
He has
a very engaging smile.
Je ne sais quoi.
Yes, exactly.
I still love him. I think one of my favorites besides The Last of Us is the movie with Nicolas Cage.
That movie is gold.
I love that movie.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. That was such a good movie.
Absolute gold. I have found out that I am 1 degree of separation from Florence Pugh. Just she
only
is
1
in
degree?
a movie called Malevolent that my one of our couple of friends, the wife, wrote and produced. And I still haven't watched it. Sorry, Eva. So they actually kind of know Florence Pugh pretty well.
That's awesome.
I have another celebrity question. I know we're going off topic a little bit, but okay.
But she is the jewel that we all believe should be protected and cared for. And
have you guys watched The Acolyte?
No.
Okay. No, not The Acolyte. What is it?
I don't know.
There's a show I saw recently with Fallout. Fallout.
Yes.
Yeah, the movie.
We were obsessed with Fallout. So we heard that last.
Podcast. But that actress's name is Purnell, and she looks like
Elisa?
she is related to Elisa Purnell.
I know. Same.
I'm like, wait a minute, are they family? Because they totally. So Lisa, if you're listening, please let us know.
She's British, the girl in Fallout.
No.
Yeah.
Another
transplant. Doesn't mean they aren't necessarily. Of course, Purnell is not Elisa's maiden name.
That's true. And also not an uncommon name.
I feel the connection that you saw.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, they look like they could be family.
Okay. Are there other reasons that might encourage someone to court the rich, powerful, and famous? Well, yeah, because you want some of their power.
Yeah, you want to improve your station.
Did these people meet our expectations? I don't care.
I came with no expectations.
Yeah, I mean, my expectation of a rich person during this time is like they're probably an asshole, and guess what? They were all assholes
for their own like best,
right?
And this is true probably in modern life too, but I think at least a modern American society does have some fail safes in there for you. But anything could ruin anyone, and you could be in the gutter in a second through so much of human history.
Yep.
You could fall from great heights or low heights to lower.
Yep.
So easily. That's the tension in any like Dickensian British stories. Like
the fall from grace.
There was one character that seemed like a really big outlier to me. One that did not seem. I thought she was delightful, but
the playwright.
The playwright just didn't seem to fit in there. But I know that her presence was an important vehicle in Valentina's life.
Yeah, I was interested in, because she's mentioned in the beginning, because the cook's son is like enamored with her, and then you don't hear from her for a while, and then she's there during the tornado, and then you're like, oh, I forgot about this person altogether.
Yeah.
And then all this other stuff happens, you kind of forget about her again, but then she shows up again when she's, in jail, and she's sending her money so she has better, food and rations or whatever, and then she's a little bit more important at the end. But it was like, you're right, like, who is this person? I thought there was going to be some sort of like mystical revelation about her that didn't come. So yeah.
Well, she became sort of the lover, with Valentina later in life, or just you think they were platonic friends?
No,
I didn't think so.
They were lovers.
Yeah, they were. Okay.
Well, so I think the playwright is maybe our like through line that you could be an independent woman.
Yeah. An example of someone.
But in these times where independent women were getting burned as witches just for having opinions.
Yeah.
Having a playwright, she must have had a lot of power and money to stay out of the Inquisition's.
I think
pyre.
If you know the right secrets.
Yeah.
And you please the right people in certain ways, that you end up with a lot of power.
Mm. Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, it doesn't save Walid. I love that she takes two guards down with her.
Yeah, like, if I'm going, I'm taking this mother down with me.
Which, like, is that again another through line of like she's able to drown all three of them by because she's sewn all the jewels and coins into her gown.
Yeah. And
so this again is another like the greed is going to be your downfall or be your end.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has to take what she can scrounge together and hide it, right? So that she can get away and start her own life for herself, which is still a thing in this day and age that like I have heard as advice to young brides is to like make sure you have access to your money, but also your own little bit of money on the side, because you don't know what's going to happen, or like you might need to be able to run away or something, like it's a grim outlook on life, but it is advice that I think is important to either think about yourself, or be at least involved enough that you can access what you are due, right? So it's still
I've seen quite a few videos of older traditional homemakers speaking out and saying, you younger women that are idolizing this trad wife culture where you are robbing yourself from an opportunity to have education and have independence. It may sound nice now, but if you do not do these steps to look out for yourself 30 years down the line, you could be in big trouble. So
yeah, I think it's trad wife, not trad values. Like you can still be a stay-at-home mother or wife or whatever, or a homemaker or whatever you do that gives you joy is totally fine.
Yeah.
Yes. As long as you are, sort of aware of the fact that you have still choices over your own fate, right?
Yeah. It's far from your mind when you're blissed out.
Yes.
And you're entering a new relationship, or you're in a relationship where you're in the bliss phase, that this wonderful person, man or woman, could ever turn on you and then be your greatest enemy.
Yep.
And so there's a certain amount of cynicism that comes with that advice.
100%.
But it's still good.
It's not bad advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worked for my husband and I to keep our paychecks completely separate.
Yeah.
There was a time when we were commingling at the beginning, and neither of us really like to fight. So Like, I would prefer to fight a little bit, but he's like no fun to fight with because he hates conflict. And so it was creating conflict, and we just have kept our separate bank accounts and put our money in there. And
yeah, that's what James and I
paid for
do.
things together.
We have a joint account, and we have separate accounts, and we do what,
Probably should have a joint account, but we don't, and it works.
Whatever works.
Yeah, and it's
and it's. I agree with Katie. It's not against trad values. It's against this newer.
It's not new. It's a resurgence.
A resurgence. Well,
look, it's retro,
but
I love vintage.
But that's not how it's being portrayed. I mean, it's being portrayed as, but when they break it down, it's like, but you're still getting a paycheck. The way you're doing this is a business. It's not necessarily the reality what they're, I mean, those of us who did that for a long time, it looks very different than what you see on TikTok.
I would feel weird if I didn't have agency over the money that I brought into our household.
Yeah.
Like, we're both working towards the same goals, but we each have agency, and there's a lot of trust involved in that.
Yeah,
too.
you have to trust 100%.
But that I'm trusting him to be using his paycheck well, and he's trusting me to do the same.
Yep.
But also to value you well throughout your marriage, not just in the beginning.
Yeah. So that's a good point.
And so to bring this back to the book,
Valentina is
she got
subject
some agency
to having
no self-value.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, at first she has none of that. But she finds a way to exercise her agency. Valentina thinks there are different kinds of suffering. The kind that takes you by surprise, and the kind you live with so long you stop noticing it. Do you agree with her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Because sometimes you don't notice until it's gone that you're like, oh, that sucked.
Yeah.
But you're in it, and you can't think about it at the time because
you're
how are you going to keep going, right?
Exactly.
And then there's the one that's like right in front of your face where you're like, wow, things are really hard right now, But
what are some examples that you can think of in the context of the familiar? Well, I mean, let's look at Luzia's life. She suffers sleeping on the ground.
Yep.
She suffers dirty clothing.
Yep. Verbal and physical abuse.
Hard labor.
Yeah.
No one to care for and nurture her.
Loneliness.
No kindness.
Yeah.
No human kindness anywhere because the cook is no fun. And her master...
Is it just her and the cook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her aunt is not the aunt that she wishes that she were.
Yeah. She's a poor ghost of what her mother would have been for her.
Yeah.
I feel like the author really represented that, really was quite descriptive with with how her disappointment in she's all alone, but she does have family, but her family is not what she feels they should be doing. Mm-hmm. They're letting her aunt is always letting her down, and even when her aunt says, "You can trust me," and she's like, "Wait, I can't. If I could trust you, if you cared for me, why weren't you caring for me all this time?
Right? Why couldn't you bring me under your wing a little better?
And you're not giving me any good reasons why. You're just giving me excuses.
Well, I'm keeping you on the back burner till it's useful to me.
Yeah,
yeah. But just she sees the manipulation in that. She loves her aunt, and she doesn't want to let go of her because she's the only family she's got. But it's also hard to be around her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the short-term suffering that's like right in your face is like, my back hurts from sleeping on the floor and I'm tired. And the long-term suffering is like,
I'm alone in this world.
Yeah, I want for family. She's sad about, how her parents left the world and having no one with her. And it's not something that she probably thinks about all day, every day, but it's always there.
I had to grow up fast taking care of her father.
Yeah, she was 12.
Yeah. And the slow disappearing of her.
Yeah.
It made me think, did you guys ever get back to We Dreamed of Empires, or You Dreamed of Empires?
No,
Not
I didn't.
yet. There's a part in the book that stuck with me where Montezuma is upset with a serving girl who is upset because she's the cousin. They're all cousins. Everybody in the palace is related. And she feels particularly soft for the wife that's being, disciplined and mistreated. And Montezuma tells her she can speak freely, and she does. And then he's like,
I actually read that far.
Right. Go to the guard and have him kill you. And she starts weeping. Why are you weeping? Because I will be gone from this world and no one will know I existed.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he says, takes pity on her and says, go to the guard and ask them to execute you in the square.
Oh.
So the people will witness your death.
So people will know that you existed.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so that's sort of Lucia's life, is that she's disappearing into being a cog of someone's household.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even, because they
How
also
depressing to think that is as good as your life was going to get.
And she even says,
and
like,
she's smarter. She knows how to read, and she knows so much more than they know. But she has to keep it hidden.
And she's like, yeah, I could marry a man and, have my own house, but like, literally, how would I meet anybody? Mm-hmm. Like, I have no opportunity to. Yeah. Because I think her aunt or someone says, like, well, you could marry somebody and have a life. And she's like, how would I do that?
Right.
How would I ever meet anybody?
Right.
I mean, at least as a servant, she can get out and go to the market.
Yeah. But I think this easily, in the last part of the question, are there other instances where you've seen this play out in today's world? People are like, we're all servants of the master of our jobs, right? Mm-hmm. And especially in the current financial climate where there's so much wealth hoarding, people are working themselves to death.
Yeah.
Like, they're the people who don't have money to retire, who are literally working till they die.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then there are the people who are just stressing their bodies and their lives out so much where it's just a cycle of sleep to work.
Right.
Go home.
More.
Work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep. And there's no, like, pulling of joy from life.
Right.
Because you're just trying to survive.
But there are also the people that do that same exact thing, even though they have plenty.
Yeah.
Because they could have more.
They're not seeking joy either. Like, it's like, what if everything did collapse and all we had to do was like grow food in the backyard,
and trade and barter and gather and hunt,
but be with our families all the time, or Karin says no thank you right now.
No,
to be with your chosen people that you want to live with.
You only get to choose the one. The rest are a crapshoot.
No, see, if you asked me this during COVID when we were all housebound and everyone was home all the time, it was much. But now that I will be moving away from them, I do wish they were with me all the time. Like, let's all stay in the house together, like, forever.
Yeah. It sounds good.
The reality will not be the same.
No.
I'm approaching that phase of my parenthood of, like, gotta be happy for them to fly the nest.
And I want,
I'm not even saying you're not, but but there's that, like, I won't see my babies every day. That's got to be weird.
My youngest told me this week, he goes, are you even going to miss me? I go, well, how can you ask that? He goes, because you don't act like you will ever miss me. And it just made me feel so crushed. And I'm like, I said, I am totally going to be missing you. I'm missing you now. But I can't show that right now because I'm in the midst of this house changing transition. But not a day, not an hour goes by that I'm not thinking about you and when you're not with us. Knowing that it'll be good for you and it'll suck for me.
Yeah. But that's the thing, even when your child is a baby, you're like, wow, won't you ever go to sleep? And then they go to sleep and you're like, I miss my baby. Yeah. I want them with me all the time until they're with you all the time. And you're like, will you go away, please?
Yeah. Stop touching me.
Yeah.
Valentina thinks, no, I just said that one. Sorry. The threat of being suspected of heresy by the Spanish Inquisition hovers over Lucia even before we meet her in The Familiar. What did you know about the Spanish Inquisition and their methods before reading the book? Did you learn anything new about it?
Does Monty Python count?
I know, I was going to say that. And someone say, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah.
We shall put you in the comfy chair. I don't think it was the comfy chair. Well, they lit it on fire, but.
We've had hints of the Inquisition in other books we've read. And I think like I have a firm enough grasp of their reign of terror over
Right.
I just
Europe.
It's a trap. There's no. It's like if you only confess will make your death better.
Yeah.
But no matter what,
They'll
you're
strangle
gonna
you
die.
if you repent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
confess
like
to what? They're not going to tell you what your crimes are. You
Yeah.
got to guess.
I
oh,
love the
crap.
old lady.
I confessed to the wrong thing. Shoot.
She's like,
Oh.
I have screwed half of this
Well, like,
country.
yeah.
like
Who am I supposed to get?
Yeah, that was great.
I loved her. Yeah, it's just like, you know what, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. They've kept her in prison for how many years? I mean,
I think she was 2 years was all.
just 2 years. But still, she's like, I confessed everything. There's no point in making a plea bargain.
Yeah.
They've already decided your fate before they ever even started torturing you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I knew about as much as about the Inquisition as I, as this book revealed to me.
Right.
I hadn't read anything set like first person in this world, so I thought it was interesting, but
Yes.
I don't think I learned anything.
Right. I think it's the great looming terror that it always is.
Right.
For anything in this time period.
But this being a work of fiction, I did not expect it to be historically accurate because the focus was not, let's do a treatise on Spanish Inquisition torture,
Right.
But it's good that Leigh Bardugo did the work because, like you
Yeah.
said, it was investigating into her own family history to learn how, what happened. And
Right. I didn't feel like I learned anything new.
No.
In what ways do you feel the Spanish Inquisition influenced the competition, its participants, and its audience? If at all, were you surprised by its pervasive influence? I can answer the second question. No, I was not surprised by its pervasive.
It's above all, you
Yeah.
know, it's the looming thread of everything.
So what I'm not getting is like, okay, any show of magic is witchcraft, and thou shalt burn. But the king wants everyone to have magical powers, so he can
only
win.
if it comes from the Lord.
milagritos. He wants miracles, little miracles.
If your power and influence comes from the Lord,
But
then
having
it's good.
entire ships, built from wood from the bottom of the ocean is just that's a little milagrito.
Because it serves the king.
Yeah.
Oh, so
You can turn a
it's-
blind eye to a lot of things if it's
So it's
beneficial to you.
situational ethics is what
Yeah.
we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Ding,
Well,
ding.
yeah.
Ding, ding. I think that the competition was crafted so that you could justify what
Yeah.
was hypothetically punishable. So setting was everything. The participants crafted themselves to be godly.
The whole second trial was to prove whether or not they were pure of their, abilities.
Yes.
What I didn't understand was just like, what was the point of the tournament? Couldn't you find somebody that had these powers and go to the king and be like, hey, look, I brought you this person that's going to be great for you. Can I please have some favor?
I think it was spectacle. And then that question was asked somewhere in the text.
Uh-huh.
That if the king had more than one, like if it wasn't like a decided victory of
Not
this
an
person.
either or, but
Right.
an and.
Yeah, that it was that it could create rivalry,
That makes sense.
and then who knows?
You want the most powerful.
Hilarity ensues.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is really interesting that one of the first competitors, the really, really beautiful girl, who was
Graciela.
completely fake,
Yeah.
that she would risk the Inquisition
To have a chance
to
at
have a chance
agency.
at agency.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just.
That's how
Why are you
important-
here? I just wanted to find a
I
husband.
wanted to try to. Yeah, she was getting her Mrs. degree.
Yep.
MRS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The author concludes with information about how each of the characters' lives continued over the years.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of their fates? Do you think everyone deserved their fate? Who, in your opinion, deserved better? Who deserved worse, and why? I'll have to let you guys answer because that was all very swiftly wrapped up. I understood that our couple got to be together.
Yes. She
And lived happily ever after.
She
and after.
transported them away.
Yes.
And every morning he burns to death, and she brings him back to life. And I don't really know why she lives forever. But
That
she
was
gets
a
to be
little
immortal
confusing
too.
to me too, but
Uh,
maybe that was always in the cards for her.
Maybe, or the deal that she had with the De Paredes that gave him immortality, she got in on that too, and I don't know. It was a little complicated.
That is a whole. I'm gonna have to reread that part.
Yeah, but I
didn't expect that it'd be forever. I just thought it would be for her lifetime.
Life, yeah.
For her lifetime.
And even when they did escape, and the first night when he burns to death and he floats away into ash, I was like, okay. But then he comes back and you're like, oh, okay, no, they live forever. And I was like, I kind of feel like I might have liked it better if he had gone. I don't know.
That's interesting.
She did say something about with her little miracles of healing, it can prolong her life. She wouldn't live forever, but the little bits that she does every day kind of slow time down.
Seeded earlier, as his health improves. He's like, don't you question why you get stronger with me and I am improving with you.
Because she gets a little of him and he gets a little of her. Magic.
I think Victor got the end he deserved.
Which was?
He he loses his luck. He was afraid to leave his wife. He was afraid to travel. He was afraid of what news the next letter would bring. When his wife became pregnant, he experienced a dread of so vast that he had no way to contain it. Fear was too new to him, too fresh, too limitless.
Yeah.
I'll be different when my child is born, he told himself. So, and then his wife gets frustrated with this.
Right.
Because he
paralyzing of fear.
Because he was a go-getter husband who always took charge, and now he's like, very timid and fearful.
But I mean, if you thought you were invincible and then all of a sudden you weren't, you would also be scared of literally everything. Exactly. Like, I can't leave my house. I can't step outside. I can't. Yeah.
That wind could blow a stick in my eye and I could go blind.
Yeah. Yes. Now that all of those things could happen to me.
The what ifs were just overwhelming.
He died alone in his bed weeping.
Oh, good for him. I liked the ending that Don Mario's had, which was that his wife now ran the house and had all these wonderful artist friends, and her like lesbian lover came over, and he was just like, I can't take it, I gotta go ride my horse, and goes off to the country and comes back every once in a while and is like, I don't like it here.
Yeah, that's
great.
Like, that's what you get. Great. Yeah,
because he wasn't the worst guy, you know.
It was just, and they said it a million times, it's not a good match.
No, it's really not.
It wasn't good for anybody. No one was thriving, except for that little bit of time that they all dreamed of orange blossom.
Yeah. Only because the magic of one person's great encounter. Yes. They were all fornicating that night.
Woo! I love the guards and the.
Yes, that was my favorite part. It was like, when are we gonna stop pretending? And they just started. That was. I think I like clapped in my car when I was like, "Yeah, good for them." That was so funny. That was hilarious.
I liked that a lot. That was my last question.
Nice.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed this.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Read Ninth House. Read more Leigh Bardugo.
Okay.
The Grishaverse is a big investment.
Yeah, it's a lot of books.
But it's really good.
I believe you. Everybody on the internet says so too.
Yeah, it's true. Spice level?
Yeah, just enough. It was pretty good.
But, of course, that came on this morning, right when I'm taking my kids to school.
Oh, of course.
Like everything else in the book is fine.
Yeah.
And it's like the heat of his body.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you hear things at faster speed, they're far more intense.
This was only at 1.5.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I can't imagine what it would be at 3.
I was only at 1.5 at that point in the day. 3 only happened since 4:30 this afternoon.
Oh, gotcha.
When I had an hour to get through with less than an hour's time.
At about 4:30 or so, I had to sit down and finish my book, but I only had half an hour left. So, nice. And I think I was at 1.5 speed at that point. What else have we read?
Finished reading, guys?
Oh, Kaity? Nothing.
Okay, good job.
Yay!
You finished the book.
I finished the book. Yay!
I'm always proud of you there.
Thank you. Because I don't always do that.
Yeah. Well,
what did you read?
So I started, I forgot that I have the book, the audiobooks for Hunger Games. Oh. And I started re-listening to them, and because I'd gotten so used to the movies that I had forgotten that there are extra bits in the book that are, because I enjoyed the movies, but
the movies are very good.
They're very good.
Yes.
But the books are still even better.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm redoing Catching Fire. So, and there's a lot more to it that they just can't show everything in a.
I physically read those books.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I am reading, I haven't finished it, but I am reading still working on the Fellowship of the Ring.
Nice.
That's in between other things.
I have a desire to properly read those because they were summer reading between. Were they summer reading between freshman and sophomore year? I think. And it was my first venture into audiobooks. I bought the videotapes, the
CDs.
No, not CDs.
Oh, VHS. Yeah.
Thank you. I can't think of the right word.
Cassette tape.
That's the word. Yes.
Yeah. I started it with James while we were on like a road trip, and then I was like, I'm gonna keep listening to it. And for like 2 weeks, I was complaining to James because I would just listen to like a little bit here or there. Like, we are still in the freaking Council of Elrond, and I would love for us to finally get on our adventure. And we are 2/3 of the way through this book, and they're still freaking talking about what the plan is. Can we please move on?
Book is that
it is.
You think of the movie,
and I'm like, we still got a lot of things to happen in this book.
They like launched on their journey, and
yeah,
that was the end of that chapter.
Oh my god! But I was very glad when we got out of that. Sorry, I interrupted you, Karin. That is what I am reading.
Oh, that was pretty much it. So I did those two. And then there's an author that I've seen on the Sidney Rye mysteries. Have you heard of those?
I feel like I've heard of them.
They're really, really interesting. On Amazon, it was on Audible box set 1 through 3, where the 3 kind of, it's really like a trilogy. It might be more than that. I only got through the first 3. And I still have 6 out.
In it.
I got through the first 2 of the books. I like the first one the most. His character, who's kind of like I think she's a reporter. I forget. It's been a while because the problem is I listen to so many different things that now they all get jumbled in my head. But that is by Emily Kimmelman, and yeah, at least the first Sidney Rye mystery is, give it a listen. I don't think they're
Rye.
Sidney Rye, RYE.
Like the bread.
Like the bread. Yeah. That and redoing Hunger Games.
Nice. That's a re-listen on Hunger Games. That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I had another productive month.
Nice.
First off, I'm going to start with a re-listen. We were on this trip with my oldest son. I think I shared this already. Mm-hmm. Then we made him listen to Project Hail Mary. And it is so good.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm starting with it is Kevin put it on our Audible account. And the beginning, I'm like, it sounds so weird. Why does the voice sound so weird?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I bet it's on 1 speed.
Why is this person talking so slow?
And
it was actually on 1.2, it turned out.
Oh my gosh.
But I thought you guys would like that.
Yes, that is funny. Every once in a while, I'll like switch back to like just regular speed. I'm like, oh my god, can you talk any faster, please?
When is something gonna happen? I think you'll be excited that I am venturing into this author, Karin, The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. Fantastic. Interesting how the first book wraps up. And I'm a little confused, maybe because you might follow her a little more closely. Mm-hmm. In the author's notes, which I do not normally read, but I read the acknowledgments, she mentions this is intended to be a trilogy. But then when I started Googling, it seems like it's just a duology.
I think she intended it as a trilogy. The Broken Earth RPG project has just been huge and grown, and it got funded like in hours.
Yeah.
And beyond.
Everything I was Googling was like, don't you care about the Broken Earth? So I'm like, I don't know anything about it. I just want to know more about these books.
I think it is just a duology, though. If I remember right from the second book, I think it pretty much does wrap up. I was on her Patreon for a little bit, and also I got to listen in on a Zoom interview with her and Sista Sci-Fi up in Oakland, and she was talking about what she intends. She starts off something, but sometimes it just wants to wrap itself up sooner.
And you got to follow that thread.
Yeah.
I started When is Black Future Month, and I read the first story in it, but then I got distracted and I had to go back to the library, so I intend to pick that up again.
Yeah, that one. The
first story was fantastic.
That one, you will, if you read more of her, you will read elements of this. Remember when I said this is like the quick sketch on a napkin. before she developed the whole story.
Right on. Yeah.
And some of them are just short stories, and that's all they were intended for. Yep. So, that's still one of my favorites, because sometimes it's nice to have short stories.
Right. This book's up for grabs. It was the choice for Smitten's dark romance last month.
Is Z for zombie?
It's the Z word. So it's a play on the L word, the show.
I don't know the L word.
It's a story. It's a series about lesbians. I never watched it because it was on a premium network or something.
Yeah, it was like an HBO thing or something.
It's LGBTQ all over the place. It's set in Pride, and it's a little bit more like the Rage virus in 28 Days Later. You're getting very excited, Karin. Here it is.
Or like...
it's a thin book.
But right now I'm not borrowing any books because I'm having
pass
to
it on.
Things. Oh, okay.
Pass it on when you're done with it. It's short. Pass it on.
Oh, you know what? My youngest will probably love this.
Yeah, so read that first and then pass it on.
Okay.
I had actually someone else I was going to pass it on to, but it's my son's girlfriend, and I think she was sort of like a little taken back that I recommended the fairy smut. So this has a couple of very explicit sex scenes.
Fairy smut? It's fantasy.
She didn't say she didn't like it. She was just surprised that
her
her
girlfriend's coming from
her boyfriend's mom was suggesting it to her.
Yeah.
Which I don't have boundaries on that stuff. It's a book is a book is a book to me.
But the relationship that you're offering it to is
right.
different.
So instead, I'll give it to you, and you can pass it to your child.
Awesome.
I offered it to my child, and Alexander said no, thank you. He's not that into zombies. Together We Burn, which was by Isabel Ibanez, who wrote What the River Knows.
Oh, okay.
Did we read that?
We did.
Yes, we did.
That was that.
We were all kind of
Egypt
nonplussed.
I didn't finish it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I forgot about that.
We read it.
Yeah. I
read half of it.
I still want to continue, but I think when I read her for now, it's like you are clearly a developing author, you know,
Maybe
because
get a couple more books.
Her concepts are fun. Together We Burn is like in a fake, like a parallel world of Spain where they fight dragons instead of bulls. And
that's fun.
It opens with a lot of action, and it has a fun a good love story.
Although, do they kill the dragon the way they kill the bulls? Because I would have problems with that.
That's part of the crux of what she's facing and the challenges ahead of her. It's actually like a pretty interesting story. But it still has... I think it's a little more well done than What the River Knows. Mm-hmm. But it still has, like, some underdeveloped aspects to it, I guess. But I liked it. It was fun. I read RuPaul's The House of Hidden Meanings, which is his memoir. It's very good. Didn't know that he liked fast cars and guns and drugs so much.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna finally watch Drag Race though, which I never ever have watched.
Where are you gonna start?
I think I want to start at the beginning, but there's
a lot. There's a lot.
Because I've always been a fan of RuPaul. I think he's done a lot.
Yes.
For our culture to bring everyone into a place in the sun.
I've only watched a couple seasons, but I started with All Stars season 2 because I was already a fan of a couple of the queens that were featured in that season, so that's where I started. But there's a lot of Drag Race.
There's a lot, yeah.
And there's Drag Race like UK, and there's Drag Race Spain, and there's Drag Race Mexico, and there's Drag Race. Yeah, there's a lot.
He's had an interesting life, and then I read his little tiny book called Guru, which is like an 1.5-hour audiobook. And I borrowed it on Libby, and I have bought it on Audible because I feel like everyone should sit down and listen to this book.
Okay.
For just a boost of joy and self-esteem.
Okay.
It was lovely. It was like a perfectly distilled RuPaul's Guide to Life. Which, how could you go wrong?
This is besides the point, but have you watched his like Architecture Digest video where he tours you his home?
I love that.
Yeah.
I think about it all the time.
Yeah, he has an incredible home.
Yes. And his office, I want to live in it.
Yeah.
Like
pretty incredible.
He says, pick your favorite color and live in it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think about his house a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
And he's a California kid. Like his growing up was split between Atlanta and San Diego, but he's a San Diego guy. Like, that was news to me. A couple Emmy Henrys. I read Funny Story, also for one of the Smitten book clubs, which was very fun. I didn't find any brand new friends, but I will try again. Okay. I was like, this must be what dating's like. It's been so long. But I had a good time. Then I read Beach Read, which was very cute.
I think I've read that one.
They're two writers who are neighbors, and it turned out they went to university together. And then romance ensues.
Yeah. They all kind of blend together.
Yeah. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Yeah. But it was also fun. You know? Good Material by Dolly Alderton.
Oh, I read People We Meet on Vacation. That was the one.
Which, same but different.
Yeah.
Good Material by Dolly Alderton came up as someone said, hey, if you want to break up story from the man's perspective. So the book is mostly from the man's perspective. Interesting. And then it has like a final chapter with her perspective, and it's perfect that way.
Okay.
So interesting. It didn't need to be a 50-50. It takes this road with him.
What is it?
Good Material.
Okay.
By Dolly Alderton. I thought it was pretty good. It was a good recommendation.
I read a book. I'm not going to be able to remember the name of it, but it was mostly from the girl's perspective. Some of it was from his perspective. Oh, it was the one where they were like mathematicians and he was supposed to be Kylo Ren, but shoot, what's his name? The main character is based on Adam Driver.
Okay.
I love it.
And it's supposed to be, I think it's like a Rey and Kylo Ren, like, what do they call it? Like fan fiction. Okay. It was how it started. Yeah. Anyway. It was mostly written from like dual perspectives, but at the end of the book, she put in a bonus chapter that was like the key spicy scene from his perspective. And it was really good.
All right. I would like you to remember the title.
I will look it up right now.
The Cemetery of Untold Stories by Julia Alvarez, which was really, really, really good. It has like a very spooky cover, so I was in. Because judge a book by the cover. That's what they say.
The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood.
Oh, I remember you talking about
it. It was cute.
The premise of The Cemetery of Untold Stories is she is an author who, like, life happens. Her dad dies. They're dividing up properties in the Dominican Republic. And she picks this property that none of her sisters wants. And she creates a sculpture garden where she buries all of her unfinished writings. She's in her 70s and she's like, I'm never finishing these things. I don't want anyone else to finish them.
Interesting.
We're going to bury them. And she enlists a sculptor to build sculptures that honor each of them. And then, but the people's stories that go with them. And then oh, it's so good, guys. It's so good. I don't want to say more because it's just so good. The Devil May Dance by Jack Tapper. He's got 3 novels. This one was set in 1960s Hollywood, sort of, which was fun because it starts with the Rat Pack shooting up Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills. And then most of the book takes place like in the desert. And then then we went to Joshua Tree in Palm Springs.
Got it.
And it was like, oh, this is the vibe of the book I just finished. And he has like nothing good to say about any of the famous people in the time.
That makes sense.
So I have one more Jack Tapper novel to read there that scoots forward to the 80s, so I'm interested in what he does there. Those are all the books I read. They were all really good.
That's a lot of books. I wasn't
sad by any of them.
Cool. Well, what are we going to read next?
With all of them.
It was between 2, and I decided on The Ministry of Time.
Ooh, I've been wanting to read that.
Yay. Good. On the back it says, a boy meets a girl, the past meets the future, a finger meets a trigger, and the beginning meets the end.
Oh, that's an awesome cover.
Yes.
Yeah, that cover art is incredible.
It's got matte and layers of shiny and almost like it's really, really pretty. Yeah. Emily Henry says electric. I loved every second.
There you go.
From the cover it says, in the near future, a civil servant is offered the salary of her dreams to work on a top secret project. The recently established government ministry of gathering expats from across history to establish whether time travel is feasible for the human body, but also for the fabric of space-time. She is tasked with working as a bridge, in quotation marks, living with, assisting, and monitoring the expat known as 1847, or Commander Graham Gore. As far as history is concerned, Commander Gore died on Sir John Franklin's doomed 1945 expedition to the Arctic, so he's a little disoriented to be living with an unmarried woman who regularly shows her calves, surrounded by outlandish concepts such as washing machines, Spotify, and the collapse of the British Empire. But with an appetite for discovery and a 7-a-day cigarette habit and the support of a charming and chaotic cast of fellow expats, he soon adjusts. Over the next year, what begins as an excruciatingly uncomfortable housemate dynamic evolves into something much deeper. By the time the true shape of the ministry's project comes to light, the bridge has fallen haphazardly, fervently in love, with consequences she could never have imagined. Forced to confront the choices that brought them together, the bridge must finally reckon with whether what she does next can change the future. So, got a little bit of romance, a little bit of sci-fi.
Love it.
Cool.
I'm kind of all about that. So,
and who's the author?
The author is... Can't pronounce it. Is
Kaliane?
Kaliane Bradley? Maybe?
I could be saying that wrong.
If I'm saying it wrong, I'm very sorry.
Kaliane.
Yeah.
There's like a hidden I in there.
Wow. Maybe Kaliane.
Maybe.
Kaliane. We're gonna go with Kaliane Bradley.
And we will look that up at some other point, just to, But I already got that Audible, and I was like, oh, there she is. She is a British Cambodian writer and editor based in London. Her short fiction appears in Some Such Stories, The Willow Herb. Did you say the H?
If you're neighbors with her, because they say the H in
Willow Herb Review, Electric Literature, Catapult, and Extra Teeth, among others. She's the winner of the 2022 Harper's Bazaar Short Story Prize and another prize. So
cool. Well, we hope you will join us next month when we talk about that book. And if you have any thoughts on the book that we talked about today, we would love to hear from you, or suggestions for future books. We want to hear that too. So reach out and make sure you check out our Patreon if you want more from us. And we will talk to you guys next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye everyone.